Good afternoon, everybody, and happy August. And I've taken a little field trip outside of my cave, if you will, in my home to Summit Ridge Middle School, the place I went to middle school many, many moons ago, and I'll explain to you why I'm here in just a little bit. But first, I just wanted to mention what August means to me. August is when I know it's getting late in the summer, I know it's getting late in the baseball season, and football's about to start. And that attitude first began right here at Summit Ridge, and it was right before 8th grade. Because from ages 5 through 11, I was always going to daycare, and in age 12, I spent the days with my cousins during the summer. But at age 13, right before 8th grade, I had probably the laziest summer I've ever had, other than 2020, when, of course, everything was shut down. I didn't go on any trips. I didn't have daycare to worry about. I didn't have a job. I mean, nothing. That whole summer, other than a trip to Elitch Gardens and a few trips to Colorado National Speedway back when we used to be NASCAR fans, my parents and I just laid around the house, watched TV, played video games all day, and then when registration hit for school in August of that year, something dawned on me. Man, it's getting late in the baseball season, and summer's about over. School's about to begin. What happened here? How did this go by so fast? And then I'll throw in a little story here as I work my way around the school here. Because I'll tell another part of my story here in a minute, but I'm just going to walk around the outside here. Because like I first mentioned about a year ago, 8th grade was not good for me academically. After getting a grade point average of 3.5 or better each trimester, in 7th grade, that's how they measured school trimesters. In 8th grade, I got my first 2 C's, or finished with my first time I'd finished a trimester with C's, and it happened every trimester. 2 C's the first trimester, French and Art, a C- in History the second, a D- in Math as well the second trimester. That's something I'm not proud of. And then a C- in Math the last trimester. And as I've thought of this through the years, the reason my grades went down, I was not prepared for school. I'd spent 2.5 months just doing nothing, and the high flat was not ready for school. And I learned a hard lesson. You're not prepared for school or anything in life, bad things are going to happen. And they sure did that year of 8th grade. And it wasn't just limited to the classroom either. I decided to give flag football one last go. I probably should have left after the 6-1 season in 7th grade, but I loved playing and I wanted to give it one last go, and wanted to play for Coach Foster Kinney one last time. But to do so, I played on a younger team, and they tried. They worked hard. It just wasn't meant to be. We went 2-4 when I wasn't expecting to, and I didn't know my last game would be my last game. We were getting blown out early the next to last week of the season. And then the next day we were supposed to play, but it got snowed out, and then the week after, our opponents forfeited because it was only about a 30-degree day. They didn't want to play in the cold. And another place where losing happened, which I wasn't expecting to, here on the basketball courts, where after lunch, a bunch of us would play basketball, and I won a few times, but more often than not, I lost, and that's just the... I wasn't expecting it, but that's the way it went. Like most everything, 8th grade, I was not prepared, and I paid the price for it. And I'll just mention another thing here. I mean, I remember I didn't know how to do a project in CFS class, formerly home ec, a sewing project, when I made a stuffed football. But I didn't at first. I blew it off and told my parents I was done. Well, I really had barely started. Took me 2 days to get it finished, and I'm lucky. My teacher, Mrs. Whitwer, eventually gave me an A on that project. I did not earn it because it was so late, but she was very helpful there, and I'm lucky my parents didn't drown me for months after blowing off that project, getting C's every trimester, the D- I mentioned in math, and that I almost failed. I had an F for the vast majority of that trimester. And as I walk back here to the front of the school, I hadn't really thought about 8th grade in years. Not because I have anything against the teachers, or I didn't always agree with them, but... or anything against the school, just had so much other stuff happen years later, be it in high school or stuff as an adult, just life happened. In fact, funny thing, I haven't been inside this school since my last day of 8th grade, May 29th, 1998. And my last 2 days, as tough as my last, as 8th grade was, my last 2 days were terrific. May 28th of 98, got to go to Elitch Gardens, as the whole school did. And then the 29th, after signing yearbooks and being kind of relieved it was over, got to go to a Rockies game that night. Back when my love for baseball was really, really high, and saw the Rockies barely lose to the Astros 7-6. Grand slam by Larry Walker, home run by Vinny Castillo weren't quite enough that night for the Rockies. But 8th grade as a whole, and I didn't, for years I was like, why were my grades so far off? Why did I have such trouble? I was just not prepared. In high school, that summer, I did nothing, and that, there was like that turned my brain to mush, and it took me a long time to get past that. Couldn't wait for breaks, I got too used to being lazy, and certainly I believe in breaks for kids and whatnot, but I just got too used to other things, and it cost me in 8th grade. Learned some valuable lessons from it. Lessons that stay with me even though much more than half my life has passed since I was an 8th grader here at Summit Ridge Middle School. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon. For now, take care, everyone.